Welcome everybody. Today I'm joined by Phil and Kayleigh, a husband and wife team who left their conventional life in England to start again on nearly 2 acres in rural Bulgaria. With their 2 young children, they chose a slower, more intentional life, building a straw bale home from scratch and embracing off-grid living. Through their YouTube channel, Off Grid with the Udens, they share a real journey, the challenges, teamwork, setbacks, and small wins that come with rebuilding life on their own terms. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
We're excited too.
Happy Valentine's Day as well. For anyone listening, we're recording this on Valentine's Day. So yeah, I would just love to dive in and just ask you, like, what made you realise that the conventional life in England was no longer for you?
Oh my goodness. I don't know where to start. I think it was the real catalyst for, I think a lot of people actually, is like a pivotal moment, isn't it?
Yeah, something major happens where you go, I don't know if this is the right thing to carry on, like fighting, basically. We felt like we were fighting.
So we had a very traumatic birth with our first child, Alex, and basically it was life-changing in the respect that it made us suddenly realize how precious life really is, and it made us stop and think, okay, if life was to end right now, would we be totally happy with how we are living? Is this really what we want? And we sat down and we were like, no.
We could have answered that question in half a second flat, going, no, this is not what we want. This is not what we want to be doing. We were stuck in a rental trap.
I was working full-time as a primary school teacher at that time.
Yeah, so you were earning well.
Yeah.
I was running my own business. And again, fairly successful, not, a big business, but a fairly successful business. It was making money. And we were still struggling to make ends meet, weren't we?
Yeah.
There wasn't a value to life like what we would consider a value now, I think.
Yeah. And I think we had Alex at home and we were looking at him and we were thinking, suddenly we've got like this massive responsibility of a tiny human, and if this isn't what makes us happy, then it's not going to make him happy either.
Also, I vividly remember Kayleigh's wages coming in for the month, and about 80% of that wage just went for Alex's childcare. And it meant that Alex was going to nursery for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and he'd come home to sleep. And Kayleigh's going out, bringing up, educating other people's children, and
paying someone else to look after our son.
And we might have been, maybe £200 a month better off.
Yeah.
But we had this we basically just put it all together and reevaluated everything and just went, what are we doing? This is crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's where the YouTube deep dive went, and we just sat down with, we laugh about it, coloured pens and flip chart paper, and we were like, okay, what are our options? Because we hate this so much that there must be an alternative that's better for us.
Yeah.
And we just looked at the overarching thing of, what do we want? And we were like, we want to build our own place. We want our own land. We want that security.
We've always said actually that we could live about 4 different lives and be very, very happy in all of them, all sorts of different lifestyles. But we put all of those on the wall and then just went, what's achievable? What do we really want? And we sort of brainstormed it out. But the whole house was covered in huge flip chart paper and we just wrote everything out.
Yeah. And then I suppose the stepping stone for that was, we knew we would have to break it down into steps. We couldn't do a massive change straight away. We had to, for this to work, we had to think a bit methodically. So the first thing we wanted to do was we wanted to minimalize the way that we were living. So we started doing a deep clean, a deep going through of all of our possessions. We watched a documentary on minimalism, didn't we?
Yeah, if anybody's interested about that is well worth watching. There's a documentary on Netflix, I think it is, called Minimalism, and it is fantastic. And it genuinely started the ball rolling for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we just, it showed us how our happiness wasn't found in possessions. And basically what the next step was is we downsized everything that we had. We sold, donated things that we just didn't have our new true value in, and we started self-converting a Sprinter van. And this was before COVID hit.
Yeah.
And
it just snowballed from there.
It did.
It snowballed from there.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is so cool. So from the moment that you realised like not doing this anymore to actually buying the land in Bulgaria, how long was that process?
I think when we probably a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years. I think Alex was 3 when we
Alex-
first stepped foot on the land.
Yes. But we had the van for about a year before that.
Yeah. And
so I reckon probably 2 years.
To be honest, we converted our Sprinter van, and I mean, Phil's a bit of a perfectionist, so this wasn't a quick build. I mean, there was no stone left unturned with this van.
It was quite a
and
serious
it took us a good few years to complete it. And the idea was the 3 of us were going to live in it full time.
That was it. So I built it so it wasn't a camper van. It was literally a small house on wheels.
Oh, wow. It was brilliant. And we were so comfortable and so happy.
I built it to cope with the Moroccan desert and Arctic temperatures and everything. Like everything was, every box was ticked.
And the plan was to hit the road and to explore, and eventually we just had this faith that something would come up. COVID then hit, and suddenly going out and exploring wasn't as easy, but we were living full time in the van at that time. And we just went, okay, obviously not right now. And we started using the internet as our way of exploring, really.
Yeah, so that's when we there's a theme here that every step of our process, no matter what we're doing, whether we're starting to convert a van or whatever, we always turn to YouTube. And YouTube has been like this. Well, I've heard it called the University of YouTube, and I cannot agree with that more. Like it has taught us everything. Everything. And we love it.
Yeah.
Don't we?
And basically we looked on YouTube, and we were looking at estate agents and people doing walkthroughs and people who were living in different parts of Europe. And we were looking at affordability, and we came across a property in Bulgaria. We fell in love with it. But as soon as we contacted the person selling it, they said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, it's already gone. But I've got something else that might be more suitable for you, especially as a family." And the next thing we knew, the COVID restrictions had just started to lift so that we could leave. And that was it. We got in the van.
I will never forget, he sent us the video for the tour of this property. So he had filmed everything online on YouTube, and he sent us the link. It was a private link, so it wasn't a public thing. And he sent us this video. Within the first 30 seconds, me and Kayleigh looked at each other in the back of the van and went, okay, this is the next step. Like it was sold straight away. It was sold. Like we went, yep, we're done. Let's go.
Yeah. So basically we spent years and a lot of money and savings converting a van to then get in the van to drive here and then decide, yep, okay, we found our place.
Yeah, the van was actually a very small stepping stone when it was intended to be quite a large one. Yeah.
And what made you look at Bulgaria out of all the countries in Europe? What was it that drew you about that country in particular?
So we looked at a few countries. We looked at Portugal, we looked at Spain, we looked at France. We also looked within the UK. We weren't actively looking to leave the country. We love the UK. There are parts of the UK that are absolutely stunning. We've got lots of friends and family that we love, and they're back in the UK.
There is a couple of major factors for Bulgaria. Number one was in 2015, we loaded up a Land Rover, me and Kayleigh, before the kids were around, and we did an around Europe overland trip in a Land Rover. Wow. Where we just went off into the wilderness and we just went exploring and did this massive long road trip. It was epic. And we'd had a really rough time in Romania. And we got over the border into Bulgaria and part of this trip, and it was just like a weight had been lifted, and everybody was super friendly. And initially we had just this amazing impression of Bulgaria, and it just got better. So Bulgaria was always a place to pass through on the way to Greece.
Yeah, we were completely ignorant to the country.
Yeah.
We honestly just saw Bulgaria as a bit of a transit route. We thought we were going to spend lots of time in Romania, then we were going to hit the road, drive straight through Bulgaria and go straight to Greece. And actually, it just surprised us in so many ways.
Yeah, we loved it. And we spent not a huge amount of time because we had an itinerary through here, but we loved it when we were here. And then, so that was always been in the back of our heads. And then when we started looking at property, it was always as a European base to park the van. So we weren't after like a building or a house or anything in particular. We just wanted a plot of land, preferably as big as possible, that we could park the van on in Europe for our trips, basically have a European base. That was the idea initially. But all the plots, we've always lived sort of paycheck to paycheck, and all the plots that we looked at everywhere else in Europe were always very expensive and a bit out of our reach. Especially the places that we fell in love with in Portugal, and places were sort of hundreds of thousands of euros or tens of thousands of euros, and we just didn't have it. Whereas at the time, Bulgaria was very affordable for land, and it just sort of all the planets sort of aligned. Really, it just happened that way. Yeah.
And what's really crazy is that we looked back on our photos, and you know, when you go through your photos, it shows you at the bottom like where the photo was taken, and we've got a photo of the junction of the motorway that we took.
Yeah.
And it's literally 10 minutes down the road from us here.
We actually drove past this house on that road trip in 2015.
Yeah. We're massive believers in things happen for a reason, and we kind of go with the flow, and
good and bad.
And Bulgaria has just, it never ceases to amaze us. And I think that there is a lot, isn't there? There's a lot in media, and we've turned down a lot of newspaper interviews because when people are looking for a snappy title, they see Bulgaria as a cheap place to move to. And I just feel like the word cheap doesn't do the country justice.
No, it always gets thrown into a cheap category. Cheap Eastern Europe, cheap property, cheap beer, everything. And Bulgaria's got a lot more to offer than just cheap. you know?
Definitely say for all aspects of Bulgaria, you just cannot, you know that phrase where it says you can't judge a book by its cover? Yeah. That to me sums up Bulgaria. It sums up the people, it sums up the places. You look at a building and you think there's no way anyone could live in there. You open the door and it's like a palace inside. You come across a Bulgarian in the street and they come across like very stern, very rude to us. But actually, as soon as you start talking to them, they are the most generous, kind-hearted people that we've ever met.
So many Bulgarians have helped us out when, like in the UK, in a similar situation, we know nobody would have ever stopped. Nobody would have said anything, you know, and it feels like we have a community here.
Yeah.
We love it. We do love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So do you have, like, how are you with the language? Because it seems hard, the language, I'm not going to lie.
It is very hard. It is very hard.
Yeah, so Alex, our eldest, he's 8 years old. He was home educated right up until the point that we moved here. And the schooling here starts at grade 1. So they're about 6-7 years old. And it was a big discussion point for us whether we would switch from home education or not. And we decided, and we had a very open conversation with him, that we'd like to give it a go. Not necessarily for the academic side of things, but more for the cultural, the socialization, and also picking up the language.
The language is the big one, because if he, you know what kids are like, they're sponges when they're young.
Totally.
And if he was just surrounded by it, we knew that he would just absorb it naturally. Like it wouldn't be necessarily a challenge for him. He would just, I mean, initially it was a challenge for definite.
Yeah. And I mean, so now he's 8, he is coming towards the end of 2nd grade, and Alex is fluent.
Pretty amazing.
It's unbelievable. I would say that we have got very basic conversational Bulgarian. We find
very basic on my part.
I think also, like, I think the age thing is a massive thing as well.
Yeah.
I think that I pick up the language easier if I'm using it all the time, like in
Yes.
repetition, to
Yes.
remind ourselves. But the truth is that we are on the edge of a village. We are so busy with our build that we are not in the middle of a massive social environment that we are speaking Bulgarian all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
as much as we want to be fluent, and as much as we do try, and we do know the Cyrillic alphabet, we can start to read it, the understanding is definitely getting there. It is very hard to balance parenting, a full-time build.
That's the reality of it. Is
Yeah.
It just comes down to a time thing. It's not for the sake of not wanting to learn more.
Yeah.
Like, we would both love to be fluent, reading, writing, speaking, but you just have to juggle everything. And unfortunately, the language, as long as we can speak enough to get by, the language tends to be the first thing that goes when you have life going on, you know. But we always try. We always try.
Yeah.
And
I could say to you, oh yeah, we're learning, and we're doing the very best we can, and we do this course and we practice this nightly. But the truth is, actually, we don't have that time. We don't, and we will do our best, and we are very good at, when we go into shops or we go to the market, we make sure that we speak Bulgarian.
That is our major interaction, is going to the shops or whatever. And we always will try with Bulgarian before then admitting that we're English and we're learning Bulgarian. Yeah. And I have never once had a Bulgarian go, oh, you know, with attitude, like, oh, you should be speaking our language or anything. They've always been so impressed that we're trying to learn and we're not just speaking English. And that, it seems to go a long way. Even if you do your hellos in Bulgarian,
I would much rather use broken Bulgarian and then laugh at the fact that we've made a mistake than go in and forcibly talk English as if to say, well, we're English, so you need to speak English, because that's not respectful. And we are learning. We are getting there.
But we're not doing proactive language lessons or anything at the moment. It's still something we'd love to do, but it's just
I can totally relate to you, because like my Spanish is, I'm not gonna lie, it's rubbish. Like Jack speaks pretty fluent because he grew up on the south coast as a child, so he was that sponge where he could absorb it. He was around it, he worked in bars, but I really struggle. But then part of me is like, you know, when people say, well, why haven't you, like, you know, spent loads of time and learned it? I'm like, the same reason as you guys, right? I'm working pretty much full time. I've got 2 kids. We're renovating properties. Like, my brain capacity to sit down and try and learn a language, and for us, it's Catalan as well. So it's like 2 languages. It's just like, you know, you've got to factor your time and put it into key areas, and you know, we can get by. I can go to shops. I can order that kind of stuff, but it's a lot. I totally feel
exactly. That's exactly it. You've got it summed up perfectly. It's exactly what it's like. It's just a juggling act. You can only spin so many plates at once, and you have to stop spinning some of them sometimes, you know.
Definitely, definitely. And so, do you find, like, do you have expats over there, or are you just in the middle of like a pure Bulgarian community?
Yeah, so I think the main expat area for Bulgaria is definitely further up north. So you've got Velika Tarnovo, which over the last couple of years, I think
it's like an expat central hub almost.
Yeah,
and that's where
extremely attractive.
A lot of them go. It's a stunning area.
Yeah,
absolutely
beautiful,
stunning area.
Lots of history.
Loads of people speak English there. But we are much more out in the sticks. There is still an expat community here. But it's nothing like it is in VT.
No, and I would definitely say those from England that have moved into this area are more retirees, pensioners. There's definitely fewer families down this way. And I would say that probably the main reason for that is because people are looking for more of like an international school for their children, so they would be looking more at like Sofia or Plovdiv for that.
There's no doubt that the closer you get to the cities, Plovdiv and Sofia, the main ones, the more there is going on.
Yeah,
there's more to do.
There's more
to see,
diversity.
there's more
Yeah.
people. There's better language in the sense that loads more people speak English. You know, there's a lot more options. But with that, you are then surrounding yourselves naturally with expats.
Yeah.
And it's always been something that we're keen to do, is to try and be our own people and fit in with the local culture, as opposed to dumping ourselves in. And you know, I don't know how to word it politely.
Creating a mini England in Bulgaria, like you,
and that's not what we've been after.
Yeah. I totally get that. So when you like made the decision to move to Bulgaria, what did your friends and family say? Like, what was their reactions? This is always a great one.
So we'll start with my family.
Yeah.
I don't think my mum and dad were surprised at all.
No.
Yeah.
They knew that we were always going to be doing something. They didn't know what, they didn't know where.
They knew we weren't the normal, we're not your normal 9-to-5ers.
Yeah, and I think when we turned around and said, in 2 days' time, we are catching the ferry and we are going to be driving to Bulgaria because we found a property and land that we really love and we think we're going to buy it. They were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Have you got everything you need? Like, they just went with it. And I think
they've always gone with everything. Like when I would actually say there was more controversy around us moving into a van than there was about the property in Bulgaria, because people thought, the van was a big thing because we had Alex. And Alex was little and they just can't comprehend it. They see a rusty old Sprinter van and they've got no comprehension.
And also I think at that point, because it was before COVID, van life was new. It wasn't publicly spoken about. Yes, there were van lifers that were full-time, but particularly with a young family and a young child, it was still very new. So there weren't that many YouTube channels or articles or discussion about it. So for us to try and explain that to parents and say we're going for a more minimal life, it was very new and bizarre to them. But yeah, I mean, your family were a little bit shocked, weren't they?
I think my mum just refused to accept the fact that was happening. So it was only when I said, the ferry's booked for Monday. This was like Friday or something. And she's like, what do you mean? No, we're actually going, Mum. Like, it's actually happening. Well, I was hoping we could go to the theatre and do this. And I was like, well, we did give you a heads up, but you just didn't take us seriously, you know?
Yeah, I think Phil's mum, bless her heart, she's so supportive, but I think she always thought that we were like dreamers and
talkers.
Yeah, we would talk about things and wouldn't it be nice? But she would be very much like, no, come on, be realistic. What can you actually do? And do you honestly think you can do that with a young child? What about my grandson?
When I was running my business and like I say, it was successful enough. She would still be circling jobs in the paper, you know, like 5 years into my own business, like running my own thing, you're doing all right. And she's still circling jobs going, when you finished sort of playing, when you finished, you know, you want to get a real job. Wow. There's a mechanic wanted here or something, you know.
I think it's that generation thing, isn't it? Like, so she was working in the NHS from the day she became qualified.
From 16 years old, basically, she's worked for the NHS for her whole life and is retired now. So she has no concept even of the capitalist world, let alone the private sector.
And it was, she was so shocked when we said that we had bought this place. She was so shocked, and it was such a massive deal. But it wasn't until we turned around and we said to her, but we could have told you that we bought a new car on finance for 3 times the price of what we just bought that land for, and you would be really happy for us. Or we could have turned around and said we've just signed a mortgage for 300 grand on a house, and you would be happier for us. And suddenly,
that car analogy really hit. I remember watching my mum's face going, Mum, we've just bought this plot of land for half the price of what we'd have bought a Ford Focus on finance for. And if we'd have turned up in a new Ford Focus, she'd have been like, oh, that's lovely. Oh, really nice.
That's so
We've bought property, for half that price. And you could see her go, well, yeah, I suppose.
What a great reframe.
Yeah, she's come out here since and really enjoys it. She really enjoys it. She does get it.
She understands it. It might not be for her, but she gets why we're doing it. And I think that's the thing, is that all of our friends and family have been extremely supportive. They are so proud of us, and they are our biggest supporters.
I definitely think several of our friends couldn't take us seriously doing it. Or like, we're convinced 6 months later we'll be back home.
They want
we'll be
you
back
to
in the UK
fail almost, don't they? There's that little part of them.
But since then, every single one of them has turned around on that and has been like, you're doing the right thing, 100%. You did the right thing. Like, you know, even the least supportive people. I think it helps that the UK has sort of gone downhill a little bit since, and they're sort of waking up themselves, you know. I think that actually everybody was supportive. They just had their own way of dealing with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think as well, like you saying about how some people want you to almost fail. I read a really interesting piece of writing the other day, and it basically said that people who have this kind of feeling of like they're watching and they're waiting for you to fail, they're not doing that because they actually want you to fail, but they're looking for reassurance that the choices they've made and the way that they're living is the right thing, that self-reassurance. And I think that's the thing, the way we live is definitely not for everyone.
No, 100%.
And we're just lucky that we've gone for it and it's working for us.
Yeah, for us it worked. I know probably 90% of the people that I know would jump into our shoes and just think, I don't know how you're doing this. Like, I just don't know how you manage. I don't know how you cope. But for us, it works really well. Like, we're very, very happy. We live in a caravan still, but we're very happy living in a caravan.
Amazing.
And I think that for us is also where our value is.
Our
value is not in having a new car on the drive or a new TV or.
And I think that all comes down to that very first conversation when we sat down and we were like, okay, what do we both really want? What would make us happy? Not as us together, but individually as well. And I think when you are open and truthful to yourself, that's when you will find something that is right. I think the whole time that you are doing something because you think it's the right thing to do, or you are doing it for reasons other than what makes you happy, or you're trying to prove yourself
and to your other half as well. I think there is so much where we are such a solid couple, but like, I'm not afraid to say when we put on the wall, I really want my own space. I want my own workshop. I want my own, you know, my own place where I can do my own stuff. And that was put on the list. Like, it's a valid thing that gets taken into consideration. And I think that is also the thing, not only to be true to yourself, but to be true to both of you when you're making these massive decisions, because otherwise they're going to end up the wrong decisions and you're going to regret it later.
Have you ever felt a moment being out there where you feel like, I don't know if you've made the right choice? Like, has there ever been a moment where you felt like
100%,
oh, I'm going back to England?
Totally. And I can pinpoint it, and it was 1:30 a.m, and it was when we truly understood that we'd lost our village. So it was 1:30 a.m. So we moved over here when Ember was about 6 months old. And
she was weenie.
She's Ember and Alex are like chalk and cheese. Alex will sleep through anything. He has always been very calm. He sleeps anywhere. Ember is the complete opposite. She's literally our hurricane. And as a baby, she was horrendous. She would scream the house down, and she was screaming and screaming. And we were going through a period about 2 weeks solidly where she just wouldn't sleep. She wouldn't settle. And when you're on the edge of a village in a caravan, it's very different than putting them in their room and shutting a door and the rest of the family can sleep. We had the whole village, we're fully aware, can hear her screams at this time of the morning. And we were having to put her in the car.
And we just couldn't console her at all. So we put her in the car, and I think that night, I took her out, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I did 300 miles up and down the motorway with her in the car.
Only way to get her to settle.
Because we could, and even then she was just screaming and screaming and screaming. And that was the point at which we missed, like Katie says, we missed our village. That was like our mums and dads, our network, our extra little bit of our extra pair of hands, and we could just go, can you just give us, could you give us an hour, and or take Alex, so that Alex isn't surrounded by this constant, because it's not his fault.
And I would definitely say that is, honestly, hands up, that is the one thing that we overlooked. We knew we were going to miss our friends and family. We knew that. We knew that we would miss going round for Sunday dinner. We knew that we would miss being able to hug them. We knew that we would, you know, the usual things. But what we didn't realise was that, or we did realise, but we didn't fully appreciate and understand, was that we would completely lose our village in the respect that we haven't got anyone to just pop round and just play with them for 5 minutes so that we could breathe and have a conversation. And I think when you've got a newborn, that's heightened even more. And like, it's Valentine's Day, we're not going out. We don't need to go out. We're not those kind of people, but we don't have that choice. Or
that's it. Even going out for dinner, like we haven't been to a restaurant. I can't even remember the last time we went to a restaurant, because I mean, Alex is good as gold, but Ember is a hurricane. And so trying to take her to a restaurant, it is in no way an enjoyable experience. So we don't do it. you know? But it's that time where, when we went back to the UK for Christmas, Kayleigh's mum and dad were able to have Ember, and we just went out. Like,
it was so bizarre.
Nice.
Yeah, we walked through a high street together, and we did this thing where we started a conversation and then we're able to finish it.
Oh, I remember those.
You'd be able to relate. But yes, I think that was the turning point for us.
That by far was the worst point. I often have these 5-minute windows of looking around at all of the stuff we have to do. Everything is a half-finished job or like needs work, and then it's pouring with rain and has been for 2 weeks. Mud everywhere. We're having to run the generator because we're totally off grid here, and it's costing us a fortune in petrol. And I'm just thinking, why are we doing this? You know?
I think it's very easy, isn't it, to, when you've got projects and they're projects that you want to do, it's so much easier to become overwhelmed. And when Phil has those moments where we walk outside and we see the rain and we see this, and there's half-finished job here and a half-finished job there,
it's stressing me out thinking
what
about
I
it.
tend to do is I then take his hand and we go for a walk, and we walk up the woodland and we walk to the top of the land, and then we look out.
And we remember why we're here.
Like, come on.
It honestly is a 5-minute window at the most. When I have those times, I just think, what are we doing? You just need to look, listen, hear, feel it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember. It's worth it. The bad days don't last long.
I think, like me and Jack always say, the highs are high but the lows are low. It's very extreme, isn't it? It's, you know, especially when you've got kids as well. I can relate everything you're saying. I'm just like, I completely relate to, because there's no one, like, anytime me and Jack, and probably like yourselves, have had an emergency, like when the fire happened at our land or our neighbour died suddenly, like all these occasions, it's like, there's no way I can be like, Mom, can you just have the girls, because I've got to go to this emergency and deal with it. Like, they're there with us. And I always think, for them as a child to like go through some of these like situations, like what that must do to their nervous system. Like, my daughter Poppy can't even speak about the day of the fire, and I feel really guilty about that. Do you know what I mean? But there's no one, like, when things go wrong, that you can just be like, can you just have them for like an hour, just because we've got to deal with this? It's like they're with you every step of the way, and it's made us a really tight, you know, unit. Like, we're such a tight family. But there are moments where, you know, you just need that breather as well, just to focus.
And there's definitely good and bad that comes out of that, them being with you. I feel like they get so much life experience, and they learn
so
1,000 times more by watching how you deal with the situation. Like when you had a fire, we had a fire locally, watching how you as an adult deal with that situation, I genuinely think prepares them for actual life.
It's
and
so
what
true.
These things do happen. Like,
what I would say is that we are only human. So there are times, because it's that intense, where they have seen me in tears, and they have seen a problem happen and us just go, what are we going to do? And they've seen that kind of exasperated, like, exhaustion on our faces, but we've learned to then make sure that we sit down and we go, do you know what, I'm really sorry that you saw me like that, but my emotions just got so much, and I found it really hard to deal with that. And suddenly what you've done is you've made them realize that you're human. So when they then have those emotions, they go, oh, it's okay, mum and dad have done this, like, I know this will pass, this is only temporary, and oh yeah, they dealt with it this way. So I think it's definitely all about how you deal with it. And
totally.
And definitely I think the skills that the children are getting here, you can't even list them, can you? I mean, you must know as well. And what a wonderful way for children to just be and preserve their childhood, which I feel that if we were back in the UK,
that's a massive point
I
for
don't
us.
think I would have been able to do.
Allowing the kids to be kids, and we really feel like they have a far better chance of kids being kids for much longer, as they should be out here, than they would be in the UK. Certainly where we were living in the UK anyway. You know.
No, definitely. I think, you know, with the age of technology, like, kids aren't kids anymore. Like, so many of our friends, little kids have iPads and they're just, you know, on them all day. And, you know, I'm not saying it's bad to have a bit of that time, because to us that is almost our babysitter. Like, when the kids are watching telly, me and Jack can actually focus or do
we
something.
can relate.
So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, like, at all. Like,
no,
you know,
absolutely.
but I think on the flip side, just having them outside, building, growing vegetables, collecting chicken eggs, looking after animals, like all that stuff, climbing trees, like our girls have got a tree that they love to climb. You know, like that. I feel like in the UK, it's very rare that nature outside time actually happens these days.
Yes.
And it's a shame.
And definitely it is possible in the UK, don't get me wrong. And you don't need to move abroad. You don't have to live off grid. You don't have to live rural to give those experiences to your children. But we were living in Kent, and it was extremely expensive. The buildings were going up faster than in the blink of an eye.
Really rubbish.
Fields were just disappearing.
Housing.
And the only way that we could give those experiences were paying for Alex to go to a forest school once a week, or going to a woodland, but it being heaving because everyone else is walking their dogs there. And
down in our little corner of the southeast UK, there is no sort of wild land, you know. There's no the Peak District or the Lake District, or where you can just vanish and not see people for a little bit. There's people everywhere.
Or even just going out, like, and that's the thing, like, we talk about the Kent because we know that different parts of the UK are different, and like, we would walk out and we could go to Sainsbury's and come back again, and literally no one would say hello to you. And it's heartbreaking, isn't it? Whereas we know that there are other parts of the UK where you'd walk outside and someone who you don't know would just say good morning, or and it's that sense of community that we weren't getting where we lived. And here we get that.
We're definitely not hating on the UK. I'm not here to hate on the UK. I think there's some wonderful areas of the UK, and full respect to anybody that's doing what they want to do in the UK. It just wasn't for us. That was all.
We've got a phrase of, we're just doing the best we can with what we've got, and I believe that is the case for everyone. And everyone is just trying to do the best they can, whether that's they're trying to work all the hours possible so that they can provide for their family, so that they can go and have those dream holidays, whether it's they want to progress up and be promoted and work in the city. And, you know, everyone has their own dream and their own happiness. And I think that's it, isn't it? Everyone's just literally doing the best that they can. And for us, this was the way that we were able to do that.
Definitely,
There's almost never that we regret it.
No.
For us. We don't. I don't think if we regret it ever, it's those little 5-minute windows.
Yeah, I miss the Chinese. I miss the ability to pick up the phone and get Domino's. Like, I think there is this image, isn't there, of like, oh, these people moved off grid, and oh, you're living in natural clothing now, and you all eat veggie, and you all of your food comes from the garden, and there are
there's
no
a stereotype.
children are always calm.
Yeah.
No, we're literally just a normal family.
We're a normal family doing normal family things.
Yeah, we miss
in
the
a different
chippies,
environment.
we miss the Dominoes. We're massive foodies. We are growing our own veg, but I mean, I grew a broccoli for the first time, and that was huge for me. But I don't get all of our veg from the garden yet.
But it is something that we want to do. We'd love to work more towards self-sufficiency.
It's just those steps, isn't
we're
it?
learning as we
It's a
go.
process.
And exactly, it's a process.
Yeah.
And again, like we were saying earlier about spinning plates, you know, we're trying to do our own buildings. Alex needs his own bedroom. Like, these things are the priorities, not growing a broccoli, you know?
Absolutely.
I was very proud of my broccoli.
No, I'm completely with you. Again, you've got to focus that time where it's needed. And I think it's the end goal, isn't it? And I never say, actually, I shouldn't say it's the end goal, because I feel like dreams are always evolving. Like, you know, we never thought we'd sell that mountain house. It's just things evolve as time goes on. But I think there is going to be a day, hopefully for us personally, and I'm sure you guys, where everything's built. Like, you've got your veggie patch going, and you can just kind of sit back and be like, we fucking did this. And like, you know, look, we own this, we're mortgage free, you know.
I dream of the day when we can have all our friends and their kids round, and we've got places for them to stay. We've got this amazing outdoor, like, I've always dreamt of having a big, like, outdoor kitchen, doing big barbecue and having people round, and just a big party for all our friends and family, and having the environment to do that, which we never ever would have been able to achieve in the UK, at least for us.
I think that, like you said, though, that moment where you stop and you look at what you've got and what you've achieved, I think that's something that the YouTube videos have helped us do, because although filming and editing takes a massive amount of time and effort and energy, what it has provided us with is a bank of almost like those home VHSs, you know, in the drawer.
I would say there is a lot of value, actually, especially for me. I'm the person that's always looking forward. I don't look at what we've achieved. I look at what we've got to do. And even when a project is done and it's finished, I'm like, that's amazing. Now let's crack on. You know? And for me, I've found an almost emotional level of value in going back and watching those videos, because I think, my goodness, that is what it looked like when we turned up. We couldn't get into the land. We were on foot only. The car was parked up the road. Like, there's so much that, and I think, we have done a lot, actually.
It's such a busy way of life, isn't it? I think
you never stop.
Busy, and there are stresses, but it's just a very different kind of busy and a very different kind of stress to what we had before. And I think that's what makes it even more important to just stop and step back and look at what you've achieved and think, this time last year we didn't have this time last year we were freezing and we didn't have anywhere to go this time last year.
And on that, I would say that it also gives you such a sense of value in the mundane. Turning a shower on and getting hot water with a 50-litre electric boiler, because we've now got enough solar panels, and I'm like, I can shower as long as I want. This is incredible. Having a wood burner, when we built this decking and this area out here, we're no longer in a caravan awning, having to put on welly boots to go out. Like, I don't know, you appreciate those tiny things so much more.
I don't know about you, Georgia, but I just feel like when you live a more grateful life over those little things, you then get this brand new sense of true happiness. Like, you are just more grateful. So having that shower after a hot and sweaty day, or a nice warm shower when it's freezing cold, or sitting on the sofa because you've got the fire on when it's absolutely hammering with rain outside, you just appreciate that so much more. Like, I can't put it into words, really.
These behind us, these plastic curtains, right? We saved up and we bought these, and I feel like they've changed our life, because they've made what this decking area was just a summer area, and it was out of bounds in the winter because the rain would blow in here. Now we can sit here and the rain's hitting this, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
You definitely
it makes you feel like
appreciate
giddy.
the little moments, don't you? And
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
seem like so mundane to everybody else, living in a
Yeah.
normal home. Like, it's the little
Yeah.
things I think it connects you with the weather as well. Like, when we were off grid in the
100%.
mountain, for example, like we only had rainwater. We didn't have a well like we do at this property. So whenever it
Yeah.
rained, it was like a celebration. I'm thinking
Yeah.
that's water to do our veggies or for the animals for
Yeah.
us to shower. When the sun's shining, you're appreciating that you're getting solar, your electricity.
Exactly.
You're really
Exactly.
connected to the weather, the elements, the seasons, and it makes you
Yeah.
feel more human, like more of an animal, like what we
Yes.
actually are.
Totally agree. I think you almost become numb in a normal house.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in the UK, we went back for Christmas and we've got a compost toilet here.
Yeah.
And I kept flushing the loo in the UK, and I'm going, I just can't believe people are burning water like this.
I know.
People are
Yeah.
just this quantity of water is just like, you have
Yeah.
so much appreciation, like you're saying, when it rains and you see that, your tanks fill up and you think, wow, you start
Definitely.
using that to flush toilets, it becomes
Yeah.
crazy.
Also, I think for us as well, like we spend 90% of our time outside now.
Yeah.
And it definitely has made a difference to our physical and mental health to go with the elements, to go with the sunrise and the sunset, and know that like in the summer we've got sunshine right up until really late into the evening, and the winter it's shorter, and there is definitely something very grounding about that. And to think that before, really, like the most outside you would get on a normal day back in England would be that period where you get out the front door and go into your car.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so true.
you're very
Yeah.
busy, like it's a weekend barbecue with your friends and you just have to hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Like it's those things, whereas here we're in it all the time. And
Yeah.
it's life now, and it's
Yeah.
fabulous. I
Yeah.
wouldn't change it.
No.
Can you
I'm
just
actually, there's an element of me that is concerned about us building our property for this reason, that it's going to take us away from this, and because of it we want to create like a more natural shower with actual stone and like massive skylights, so we're not
basically what you're going to find is I'll be inside with the kids and Phil will be like in a hammock in the woodland, I think.
Yeah, I don't want an actual house. I've changed my mind.
Wow. I was going to ask if you could just explain to people listening. Obviously, we're going to link all of your YouTube channels so people can actually, see what you're creating. But just explain to those listening what your setup is like then, and what you're actually creating out there.
Okay, so I guess from the start, when we bought the property, there was let's say a derelict house. It's in a very, very bad way.
Yeah.
And it's a single story sort of bungalow type style building with 4 rooms. And then we've got 3 barns, 3 outbuildings. And none of those are habitable on any level. So we drove a caravan over here and parked the caravan on the land. And the caravan has become our full-time home. We have built a big decking area and a roof over the top. So the caravan is covered from the sun and the weather, basically. And so is the decking area. And that is our living accommodation. We live in a 6-berth caravan, and the decking is our sort of lounge kitchen sort of area, if you like. So the caravan is basically our bedroom and our bathroom, more or less.
Yeah.
And then with that, we still haven't laid a finger on the house. So the plan is the house will be knocked down and rebuilt in the future.
Or if the rains continue, I think it will naturally fall down by itself.
It will knock itself down.
Yeah, nature will help.
And yeah, what we're doing at the minute, the project we're working on at the minute is our tiny barn. So it's a very small barn. It's 8 meters long by 5 meters wide. And we're building that into a straw bale tiny home.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly exciting. And again, something we've always dreamt of doing.
Always.
So we're trying to do more sort of natural building, seeing if there's some alternatives, and just playing around, really, just experimenting. So we've knocked the original barn down, and on the same footprint, we are rebuilding with a straw bale tiny home, and that will improve our living situation, basically. Maybe the caravan will become Alex's bedroom.
Yeah.
Because the caravan is actually perfectly habitable. It's lovely. We've got air conditioning in there for the summer. Like, I don't feel like we're slumming it on any
Yeah.
part. Although the living accommodation is cramped. But
Yeah, I think we're just very aware that Alex is growing and he needs his own space, and having a three-nager right near him.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I think that's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
So the barn isn't going to be like our forever home. It's not our main home. It's kind of like their next step up. So at the moment, we've got the bales up, we've got the walls up, we've got a wall plate on the top, and it's all strapped down. What we're waiting for now is a stretch of sunny weather so that we can get the roof on.
Wow.
It's the first time we've ever built with straw bales. It's a very basic build, but I think we're surprising ourselves at how good it looks.
It looks fabulous. It is, and I am a bit perfectionist. I'm not really one for like being like that, but it looks fabulous.
Yeah.
And it's going to be utterly stunning when it is finished.
Wow.
I'm very
So
confident in that.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. Actually, I feel very, very proud of what we're doing. And then long term, that will basically become guest accommodation.
Right.
When we have the big house sorted, that'll become like an annex. So that our friends and family can come and stay for as long as they want.
Yeah.
You know, they're welcome here anytime. And the big house, we haven't really got a set plan for that yet. So
we've got so many different ideas
again,
we'd like to do there.
There's like paper everywhere, and we're just drawing all these ideas up and Pinterest boards and things. We'll see what we do there. I'm not sure, but again, we're very restricted with funds, so we have to be really careful because we do live paycheck to paycheck. So we're going to have to be sensible with what we do. We can't get too carried away, although we'd love to. But I know we'll end up building something that we're really happy with.
Amazing.
And then one of the barns will become my dream workshop, which is just
Nice.
for me super high on the priority list. In reality, very low on the priority list. But one of those become that, and I've always dreamt of having my own workshop and my own space to build and fabricate and do my own crazy projects.
Yeah, and our whole land, so it's a little bit flat on the bottom where all the property and the buildings are, and then it's quite steep, and then it goes up behind us. So originally the land was run as basically a vineyard with some animals as well, and it was a multi-generational home, and it was abandoned for at least 10 years before we got here. And slowly what we're doing is just utilizing and deciding what we want to do with each bit of the land. And one thing that I'm really pleased that we've done is we have gone as slow as we have gone. I was
just about to say that.
We had to. We didn't have a choice because of finances. But what it's actually meant is that we've got to really know our land. We know what is best in when it rains. We know what happens in winter. We know where the sun blazes really hard when it's 40 degrees days.
It would be one of my biggest recommendations for anybody that does this is if you move to a plot, live on the plot. Do a year of bits and pieces, but don't put anything concrete in.
No,
because you will not believe how things change with the seasons. Like in that year, we were like, well, we can't put a building there because that's where all the water runs. In the summer, you'd have no idea, but in the winter, that's the low spot. Or there's so many things like that that we've gone. Okay, we'll put a window here because that gets the sunrise in the winter months, but in the summer it'd be in the shade. And you don't want the sun.
That's a great tip for people listening.
100%. I really, really recommend that. Just take it a bit slow initially. We all want to get carried away and do stuff. But
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is that it's so easy to rush to get stuff finished because you're looking for that end goal. You're looking for that kind of like happiness moment because that's your dream. But actually, what you realize is that it's the process that is your dream.
Definitely.
Like for us, we are living our dream because we're doing exactly what we wanted to do. We have got no idea what this place will look like. We've got a million different scenarios, and we know any of those scenarios we'll be so happy with. But it's that process of getting there, and the fact that we're building together to watch Alex understand the straw bale build, and for him to go, I could make one of these then, couldn't I? And us go, you literally could. Like we've taught you the skills to build your house.
He was in the foundations with me, these like 2 meter deep trenches, digging with me and going, why are we digging so deep? And I was saying, look, this is bedrock. we're down to bedrock now, and that means we're going to get these solid foundations. Like, I feel like we are teaching him skills that even if he never earns a penny in his life, he'll be able to do something with, you know?
Yeah,
And I think it's
absolutely.
super important. I think these days, everything, I was never an academic kid. And ever since I left school, it's become more and more and more academic. And I think there's so much value lost to kids in school where they could be learning a trade or something that you know, because there's still jobs there. We need electricians and plumbers and
You'll always need those jobs as
everything.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that school is so driven towards a massive career, and I think that a lot of those careers, worryingly, are going to be taken with AI soon.
And
You know,
actually, like
lawyers,
kids,
all sorts of stuff.
sorry, I was going to
No,
say
no, no.
kids I went to school with who who did do more of the trade roles, they're absolutely thriving financially,
Yep,
like the plumbers, the
yep,
builders, the electricians. And
yep,
it's amazing to see, like, you know, and they're always going to be needed. Like you said, AI can take over so many jobs, but
yep.
actually, like those jobs, building, plumbing, electrics, they're always going to stay. So yeah, if you're
Absolutely.
teaching them
And
valuable skills.
you don't realize the value of having those skills until your washing machine is pouring water all over the kitchen floor
Yeah,
at 3
yeah,
a.m.
yeah, yeah,
and you're able to just go, no worries, click, click, you know, sort that.
But also I think
absolutely.
it's about having a variety of skills as
Yeah,
well. And I think
yeah.
when I was at university and I was training to be a teacher, or you're given that idea that you need to choose a career, all the other careers are then a no-go. Like, you've chosen your career, that's it.
Yeah,
And I
so
think
true.
that's the biggest gift, is that Alex might not choose to live the way that we are living when he's older, and that is fine. But for him to have that broad range of skills so that he can live and thrive in whatever he does
100%.
is so important. Like, because that's what we need. You need that wealth. And Ember as well. We've got no issue with teaching Ember how to change the tire on the car, or how to do an oil change, or how to use a concrete mixer, you know, like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Super important,
how do you guys like sustain the lifestyle out there financially? Because I know people would be interested. That's one of the questions I get all the time, which is, I want to move off grid, but I just don't know how I'm going to make it work financially. So how do you guys, what do you do for work and income?
It's a really good question, because our financial situation changed quite dramatically in August last year. So when we moved over here, I was the breadwinner. I was working full-time remotely. I'd been working remotely in the UK as well for a while, and I just then continued that here. Phil then managed to through self-teaching, managed to get himself a role with Fogstar, who do the solar batteries that we use. And he now works for technical support for them. So he works part-time with them. But in August, I found myself without a job, and our financial kind of like income changed.
Yeah, dramatically.
And but I think the key thing with that is that a lot of people focus on income, whereas actually I think what I've always been brought up knowing as a child was always to focus on, you need to live like within your means, if not below, because you need to prepare yourself that at any point one of your incomes could go. And I think that we do live frugally.
I also think that a lot of the people you see on YouTube, and that includes ourselves, have all these tools and all this equipment, and you know, you see people jump on an excavator, and that's a £25,000 bit of kit, you know, and it doesn't have to be like that. But it is hard, because you do need the money to make it work. You can't do it without money. But I would say that the money isn't the be all and end all of it. But yeah, we are lucky in the sense that we work remotely. I mean, Katie's job hunting at the minute, but I work remotely, so I'm earning an income there, although it isn't a huge amount. It is a part-time role. We also do YouTube, obviously, so we get a little bit of money, but it is. I mean, everybody, you say that, and everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're doing all right then," but you know, actually YouTube doesn't pay very well at all when you're at the numbers.
Not when you put it down to how much you actually, the time and effort you put into it, and as like an hourly thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would definitely say it's down to making, everyone's way of living is different, isn't it? To say somewhere is like, oh, this has got a lower cost of living. To one person, that might be the case, but for another, it isn't. And like, I'll give the example of like food shopping here. And it wasn't, when we first moved here, the basic prices of products were so much cheaper than the same in the UK.
Yeah.
Over the last 2-3 years, that has changed. And I would say that the prices of the products here are the same, if not some of them more expensive than you would find in the UK. Yeah. And what I would also say is that it would be, you would find a much cheaper way of living grocery wise in the UK, because you can find cheaper alternatives. You know, you go into Sainsbury's or Aldi and you've got like a budget range, a middle of the range and a top end, you know, whereas over here you don't have that. It's very much one price bracket.
Do you want cheese, you want milk, or you want butter?
Yeah.
There's no selection of that. It's cheese, milk, or butter. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And they're all this price. And it doesn't matter where you shop, all the prices are the same. There is no cheap shop or expensive shop. They're all the same.
And I think that's the other thing as well, is that you have to learn to budget, but you also have to learn to prepare yourself for those unexpected things. Now, in the UK, that might be that the boiler goes, or I don't know, the locks need changing or something like that. Whereas here, for us, it's the winter's coming. We're going to be more reliant on the generator for power. So we need to make sure we've got enough money for diesel to power that. Yeah. And we're going to be running the diesel heater in the caravan to keep us warm. So we need to have the money for that.
Yeah.
So
our expenses go up dramatically in winter. Because we do rely on the petrol for the generator and the diesel for the heating.
I think
firewood as well, which we have to buy in.
There are so many ways to earn money remotely, and it's just a case of trying to find something that fits for your way of life. If you are happy sitting at a computer from 9 to 5, I could absolutely get a customer service role here, but obviously the minimum wage here is a lot lower. So you have to go, okay, is it worth that? Is it worth that wage to sit at a
this
computer
is again
that amount
that
of time?
Offset of, is it worth the investment of your time for the monetary reward, or is your time much more valuable on the land here with the kids and doing jobs here? And when we're filming on YouTube and that's giving you a bit of income, you sort of see that as, well, that's the more logical route, you know.
I definitely would think that if you'd have asked me that question this time last year, then I would have given you a really positive response and said, yep, like, we're managing finances, we allocate money each month to our bills and our like grocery shop, and then whatever's left over goes into the build fund. That's exactly what we used to do. Now it isn't like that. I am job hunting. We have a really minimum income coming in. That means that the projects on the land are slower, and we have to be more resourceful with what we use.
Right now times are tough financially, but it's just a blip.
It's part of it.
It's we change accordingly.
The beautiful thing though about off-grid, right, is that you haven't got a mortgage to pay. Like, you can still provide electricity pretty much through your solar system. I know cloudy days it's a bit more difficult, but that was kind of the thing for me and Jack. It was like, well, if income does drop, I've still got a roof over my head. It's still my own home. I'm still able to provide electricity. I'm still able to have drinking water. It's just the pressure's lifted a little bit when you're off grid, when things like that happen, when you do lose an income, or
absolutely,
you can reduce your outgoings.
I think I hit a point where I was so stressed by the fact that I wasn't bringing that money in. And it wasn't until Phil sat down with me and he was like, Kayleigh, what's the worst that can happen right now? Like, if we were back in the UK, we'd be stressing that
we'd be in trouble if
we can't pay the rent,
Yeah.
we can't pay the council tax,
Yeah.
we can't do this, and we could lose our home, and we're going to have to look for benefits. We don't have that. And
100%.
Yeah.
We know that our outgoings, like if we've got cloudy days, we don't use the air fryer.
Yeah.
You know,
You just
Yeah.
adapt,
you
don't
adapt,
you?
you do things
That's
differently.
it. You
Yeah.
adapt.
Yeah.
Whatever income you've got coming in, you learn to adapt.
You do all your washing on a sunny day so that you've got loads of power there to use the washing machine, you know, like,
Have a sunny day.
and again, like you were saying before, it puts you back in touch with the weather. Like, oh no, we can't, let's do something different for dinner tonight that we can do on the hob because we can use gas,
Yeah.
you know, and we'll do an air fryer next time it's sunny or something, you know.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And so off-grid wise, because I know the listeners will like this part. So you've got a solar system for your power. Did you say a diesel generator for heating? A diesel heater, sorry.
A diesel heater, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like they have in the vans.
Yeah.
For van lifers, it's just a Chinese diesel heater. They're about £100, and you cannot get better heat for that money. Like it's for a small space anyway. It'd be no good in a house, I don't think, but it's amazing for us in the caravan. Yes, we do that. We've got a petrol generator, just a Honda basic petrol generator, nothing too crazy on that front. We've got a 5 kilowatt solar array. So 5 kilowatt solar array with a 12 kilowatt lux power inverter.
Yeah.
So we've got because obviously I work for Fogstar, we've got 25 kilowatt hours of lithium Fogstar batteries.
Nice.
And it means that in the summer, I don't even know what to do with the power. Like, we're fully charged by 9:30 in the morning.
In the summer, he goes looking for things that he can create that use power. So last summer, I looked out the window, and the next thing I know, he's creating some kind of pool water heater. And I'm like, but the pool's at a fine temperature because it's so hot. And he's like, yeah, but we've got all this power. We need to use it.
Just need to do something with it, you know? Yeah. In the winter, it's different when it's cloudy days. But again, if we have one sunny day, that charges us up. And those batteries, even if we're not being careful, do us probably 3 days.
That's really good.
And if we're being careful, we can do sort of 5 days, without the generator.
Amazing.
So it works. And I did a custom-made tilting solar array, so we can tilt the solar panels for the optimum time of year. I love my solar. I'm a bit obsessed with solar. So
that's really cool.
we've got a few videos on our channel.
And what about water? Where does your water come from?
So at the minute, we are on the mains for water, unfortunately. And we've been looking into doing a shallow well, but I'm not too sure on the quality of the groundwater here, to be honest. It is a bit, there's still a lot of pesticides used here, herbicides on the field. So we are looking into doing, or we definitely will do at some point, a deep borehole. So because there's loads of aquifers around here, so we should be able to get within 100-meter borehole. We should be able to get top quality water.
I think that will be a big moment for us when we get them.
That will be life changing for us, because
cool.
we are conscious of the water that we're using and how we're using it, and it does add up as well, because that is our only bill. We're totally off grid for electricity, but we are on grid for water.
So we're like this house is like a hybrid almost. We're on grid for water and electric, but we've put a solar system in. And then when the solar, like when it's a cloudy day or whatever, because it was a very basic one, all we could afford at the time. And then we're just going to add more batteries, add more panels, etc. But it'll flip onto the mains. So the mains is our generator now. And then we are on grid for water, but we've got the borehole. But again, it's just prioritizing to buy all the tubing. It's like 80 meters long. Got to get a pump. I quite like that hybrid, you know, like I'd say to you guys, always keep that on-grid water connection, but just as a backup almost.
Backups.
What you need off-grid.
We follow a family, and he said something the other day: 1 is none and 2 is 1 when you live off-grid.
It's so
and I was
true.
like, that is so true. Because like we had the generator fail, and it was okay because I had a spare like work generator, nowhere near as nice as our nice one, but it got us out of trouble. And it really shows you that 1 is none and 2 is 1.
Whenever I do off-grid consultations, I'm like, have plan A, B and C. Like, you know, you need all 3 really, because like you said, things can go wrong, and if you know that system fails, you need to have plan B, and then even if that system fails, have plan C. Yeah, carry
Sorry,
on. I know I've
we've
been.
got children.
Got a village.
We can wrap up soon. The other
It's fine,
question
no
I
problem.
really wanted to ask you guys, if you don't mind, is just how much did you pay for the land and the property?
So we paid all in with all the legal fees and everything. It was about £6,000.
Oh wow!
What I would say is that those deals, I haven't seen one since.
It's
We
rare.
got incredibly
Yeah.
lucky with that. Yeah, it just, like I say, the planets aligned. They are still out there for definite, but probably not for that kind of money now. You're probably looking at the best part of 10. But we did get very lucky with how much we paid and what we got, you know, with the size of the land and everything, because we're on 2 acres here.
Wow.
Oh, is this property?
Yeah, 2 acres, 3 outbuildings and a house. We
I think it's still
did very well.
possible. It is
That's
still
what I said.
possible.
It is possible, but it's
But
hard.
I think it depends what you're going to do on the land. If you're looking for like a renovation project, you have to bear in mind that the overall cost, once you've bought the materials, the cost of materials here has definitely gone up.
Oh, it's crazy.
So whereas before you might be able to get a cheaper price for land, knowing that you could then buy cheaper materials to then renovate and the overall cost would be less.
Yeah.
That isn't necessarily the case now. But I also think that the best way to find somewhere is just to look around. Like, we didn't know what we really wanted until we'd looked at lots of different properties.
Yeah.
There are so many different types, aren't there?
And
what your
spending
preferences
time
are.
in the area as well. So if you're like hunting for a place,
Yeah.
like rent a camper van or go car camping or stay in B&Bs or something, and go and explore a few areas that you've got like pinned on a map, and actually spend some time in them, because you soon build a picture of what it's actually like how will the locals react to you when you're walking down looking at property. Are they all waving over the fence like, hi, nice to meet you?
You can change your land and you can change the buildings on it, but you can't change your surroundings. And you have to, unless you're going to buy all the plots that surround you, you have to be aware that is out of your control. And I think you can visit a place and think this plot is the most ideal plot ever, and then you walk around the area and you think, okay, actually my gut feeling is this isn't right for us.
Yeah, that's really good advice, actually. And I know I've kept you, so if I've just got kind of one more question,
you're fine.
It's just the buying process of Bulgaria. If you could just explain to people a little bit about what that process looks like.
Buying a house here is easier than buying a car here.
Well,
I can tell you that.
If you had all the planets aligned and everything sorted, you can buy a house in a day.
Wow.
But you have to have all the legal stuff ready. But yeah, it's super simple transaction. But
it all depends on the type of land as well. So if it's an agricultural plot, it all depends on your nationality as to whether you are actually legally able to buy that plot.
As Brits, you can't buy
and buying property
agricultural land now.
And buying property here doesn't automatically give you residential status. I think that
a lot of people
there's a lot of people who are really excited and they find a property and they rush to buy it. And sadly, we've heard of a lot of people who have come here and bought property, then realise they don't meet the residency rules and have then had to sell up, or have then realised that actually a property they thought would be a long-term thing for them would actually only be more of like a holiday.
They get the 90 days, you know, your 90-day rule and all of that. But I think that's probably the same everywhere. So definitely investigate your residency before you get too carried away on if you want to live, you know, live there.
But the truth is, as long as you have done your legal homework and you've checked that the property that you are buying does actually belong to the people you're buying from, and that there are no taxes or bills owed on that property.
Yeah, because they stay with the building.
Yeah, it then gets passed on to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, be aware of that. Definitely make sure that there is some. There's been a lot of people very badly burnt in Bulgaria recently, and I think that you know, just have your wits about you. If you're looking in Bulgaria, there is still some really good people and some good companies out there selling genuine property.
Yeah, I think it's hard, because what I would say is do your research and definitely use things like Facebook groups and Facebook forums. But what I would say is it's take it all with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, don't
Because
believe anything.
just because people say that they've been scammed, it doesn't actually mean that they have been.
Yeah, this
and just because they say that, oh, you definitely should use this person to buy a property, or they've had such a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Like, equally, that doesn't mean that that's right, you know?
Yeah.
And I think just don't forget that you can stand on your own 2 feet. And once you've found a property that you like, do your own homework.
Yeah.
I think that's the key in it all.
Yeah, don't take anybody's word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the process, to be honest with you, I think the process has changed since we bought our place. Because Brexit has, we got in before Brexit happened. So I think that things are a bit different now. So it's hard for us to sort of say what it's like. But our process was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's definitely a much easier process than that in England.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not massively expensive to buy a property here. And also, I would say is it's such a big achievement. Like, I would say you can over research sometimes, can't you? And that's what I mean. Like, we could talk forever about it, but at the end of the day, like, just don't forget that you can do your own research. And just because it's hard doing that research, it doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile doing it.
Yes, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. The more work you put into your research, the better off you'll be later.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And is it that you have to set up as a business to buy a property in Bulgaria? Did I read that somewhere?
It all depends on your nationality and where you're from. But as Brits, yes, you have
because
to.
As Brits, you're classed in Bulgaria as like a third world country.
I think that's right.
Yeah, that is the term, isn't it? And so you just have to purchase your property through a company, but that company can be yours.
Yeah,
so
it's not like a dodgy loophole.
No, not at all. You set up a company and it's your company that owns the property. And obviously that means that then you have a few extra kind of like paperwork bits to do because of that, like company reporting and stuff.
That's right.
That's the only difference, really.
You've basically then got a company and a property.
Yeah,
but it's straightforward enough. And if you find a good lawyer, it's a breeze. It really is a breeze.
It's nothing to be scared of.
No.
Like, it really isn't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't, you know, Kayleigh's right. Do your own homework and stand on your own 2 feet a bit, and don't just go along with an all-in-one package because it's easy. Because, you know.
And I think as well, it's one of the things that we've learned here through everything, not just buying the property, is don't make presumptions. Don't presume that just because that is the way that it happens in England and you don't think twice about it, that will be the same here. Like in England, it takes months for a property, for you to buy a property. Here, it literally takes a day. But in England, you sign a V5 and swap it and the car's yours. Here, that it doesn't happen like that. So
the car thing's a nightmare.
It's just about doing your research, but making sure that your sources are legit ones.
No, thank you for that, because I know people listening would be really interested, because we're starting to advertise property from Bulgaria on our website, and it's nice to hear the process of doing that. So I guess like my final question is, and because I don't want to keep you any longer, but if someone's feeling stuck in a life that doesn't feel aligned to them, what advice would you give these people?
Go and try out different ones. Just try different ones. You don't have to make a jump with both feet. You can just go, oh, I've got a week of annual leave. I'm just going to go and get on a plane and go and hire a car and go and explore a country, because there is only so much you can get from a YouTube video. And for certain, that wasn't the way that we were going to do it. And when you get, everyone has different expectations, everyone has different standards, everyone's looking for something different. And I think it's not until you're in a different situation that you start to think, oh, okay, oh no, this really isn't for me at all. Like the culture is just too different, or the food's too different, or okay, I didn't realize it was going to be like this. And I think, yeah, just take a week out and go and try something different, whether that's living in a cottage somewhere or going on an island, or whether it's living in a van.
Yeah, and try and put yourself as out of your comfort zone if you're doing that, as you can, because that will give you more real world experience than a holiday. Does that make sense? You go to a cottage, don't go to the beefeater because you know the beefeater. Go down the local pub and meet the people and chat to people or whatever. But what I'd also say is depends what you are actually after, because I know that a lot of people would love to be off grid, but don't want to make the jump to living in Bulgaria or living in Spain or Portugal. But you could be off grid in the UK. And if that's what you're really interested in, and I said this before to somebody, have a go at home. It's really not hard. Divert your downspout from your gutters into a water tank. And then use that water. That'll start to make you realize how much water you get off of a small roof. And then if you want to, it wouldn't take much to plumb that into just the toilet. So now you're flushing your toilet with rainwater, or you're watering your veggies.
Absolutely. You don't need, the truth is, you don't need a massive garden to grow your own vegetables. You don't have to move location to live differently. I think it's just a case of stepping outside your bubble of where you are and going, how can I change this? And at the end of the day, if you really want to make a change, you'll make it. You are the only one stopping yourself, because you don't need a lot of money to make small changes, which then have a domino effect to make a bigger one.
I know it looks like that on the internet. Oh, I need this and I need that and I need that. Do you know, I knew nothing about solar when we started our van build. I knew nothing about solar. And I went and bought a cheap panel, second-hand panel, a cheap charge controller and a car battery. And it was born in me. Like, it was like, here we go. And I learned as I went. I used YouTube University. And if you live in a flat, you can still hang a solar panel on a balcony.
Totally.
You know, you could put a small solar panel in a window and charge your phone from that solar panel. And it slowly builds this thing of like, wow, I'm enjoying this, or you get to learn about it as you go without being thrown in at the deep end.
Totally. And I think
build those skills.
That's the other beauty, isn't it, of the internet, is that people are starting to share the ways that they're looking for that change. And for some people, say their career means that they have to stay where they are, but what they're doing is they're starting to go, okay, when I clock off on a Friday, I'm going to go straight to the airport and I'm going to go and have a city break somewhere for as cheap as possible. I'll just look for the cheapest flight and go and experience something new. And just having that break, that difference, that, oh my goodness, now I've got to think on my own 2 feet and have all these new experiences, is enough for them. And I think that's the thing, isn't it, is just step outside your bubble and look at what is possible instead of focusing on what isn't possible.
And what I'd also say is reach out to other people that are doing it. Because actually a lot of people with small holdings and stuff, they might not necessarily have somewhere for you to stay, but they'd probably have somewhere you could put a tent or something, or your own van, and you could get to learn about what it's like to live with animals, and you could get to see the solar panel stuff and live that life in the real world for that period of time. And you remember, behind all the YouTube channels and behind all the Instagram accounts is just normal people. I know that, especially the big accounts, they come across like celebrities, but they're just normal people. And actually, probably a lot of them are really lovely people that would be more than willing to help you out or give you a, send an email.
It's so true. And I think like Workaway is a great platform for that as well, isn't it? Where you can go and try these lifestyles, because you might hate it, you never know. So like, try it before you really dive in.
And that, I think that's the thing, is like, it's okay to change your mind. I think that there's this underlying sense that, like, you, as soon as you state your dream or you say your dream to someone, if you then don't follow it through, you feel like people will look down at you, or you'll lose something. Actually, changing your mind or changing your direction of your life, that's something to be massively proud of. And for all we know, we might build this, and in 5 years' time, we might go, okay, now what?
Yeah.
We might go
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah, yeah.
else. Like
Yeah.
we're really open to stuff changing.
Yeah,
love
and that's
that.
okay.
Yeah.
And to be okay with that, that's okay. And own it.
Yeah,
There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with owning the change.
No, I
Yeah,
love that.
okay. And if your friends think you're an idiot because you went and tried it and you failed, then they're not really your friends, to be honest.
No, and
Because
if
your friends will support
it,
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel strongly about that.
yeah.
Aw,
Yeah, because that's life. And I think
yeah.
Life should be an adventure.
you regret
Yeah.
every opportunity you don't take. I remember that.
Yes.
When I was running my business, I was doing my landscaping. I was a landscaper, and I was cutting the grass with this really old man, and he was a really wise old bloke. And he grabbed me by the shoulder, and I said, "We're moving to Bulgaria. We're going to start a new life out there. I can't do this life anymore here." And he grabbed me by the shoulder, and he really firmly just said to me, "You'll regret every opportunity in life that you don't take."
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
You're giving me
really
goosebumps.
hit me hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, I've got a lump in my throat thinking about it because it carried so much weight from
Yeah.
someone that's had all that life experience in the world to
Yeah.
say something like that. It
Yeah.
really,
It's
Yeah.
so true.
it really meant the world to me. Yeah,
No, when you look back on life, you know, when you're older and you're not looking back thinking about everything, you know, you don't
Yeah.
want to regret anything, right? You just want to have a go. And like
No.
me and Jack always said, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like we can go back to
Exactly.
England and, you know,
Yeah.
life was fine in England. It didn't feel aligned completely, but it was, you know, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, just try it and see what happens. And yeah, otherwise you will
Absolutely.
regret it, definitely.
Yeah, you will. And life's for living. Don't get caught up and
Mm.
and also don't think, oh, in 5 years' time I'll be ready.
Yeah. Don't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because
You'll never be
You might
ready.
not get that.
yeah,
Yeah.
You might not get that.
it might be well worth doing, but it could also be wasted time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I would recommend if you're going to do anything, don't waste time
Yeah.
because time's very, very precious.
Oh, well, guys, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved talking to you both today. It's so inspiring, everything that you're doing. And
Oh,
Thank you.
no, thank you so much. And like I said, I'm going to link everything in the show notes where people can connect with you, follow you on YouTube, see your journey, and
Amazing.
keep doing what you're doing. And hopefully we'll keep in touch personally as well. And, you know, I'd love to come over to
Definitely.
Bulgaria one day, meet you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You've been welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to come to Spain.
Please do, honestly. I've met more like-minded people doing this journey than, you know, I had in 26 years in the UK. So,
And that's what I'd
to.
also say is that it is a snowball effect. Once you step outside of that previous life,
Yeah,
it suddenly things fall into place that you wouldn't
Yeah.
ever have expected to happen.
you'll just meet the
Like-
most amazing people because you're on that vibration and you're attracting the same vibration then.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I love you and leave you there because I think you've been on with me for an hour and a half now and it's just been absolutely amazing. But
No
yeah, thank you
worries.
so
Oh, that's
much.
good.
And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and Valentine's Day, although
Yeah.
me and Jack don't do anything either. So it's just
No.
life, isn't it?
Just another day for us.
Just another day, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have an amazing weekend, guys, and we'll speak soon.
And you.
You
Thank you
too.
very much for having us on.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.